Estamos en vivo. Buenos días, buenas noches, buenas mediodía, buenos todos. Hey everybody, konnichiwa, de todos lados del mundo que nos estén escuchando. Welcome to the Money Jam. welcome,
Podcast.
welcome everybody. Hey,
I'm
Adiel.
sorry, I can't clap anymore because I got the noise cancellation, so the clapping won't work.
Oh, okay, I
Um,
see you, I see you.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. But thank you, Brandon, for having me here. How you been, man?
I'm doing good, I'm doing good. How about you? How about you?
It was a good run today. Without spoiling, it was something today. The markets were crazy, but we caught a good bounce back. In Apple,
Spoil it to them, bro.
bro, it was such a good day. I'm telling you right now, such a good day. But crazy, wild markets, honestly. Too much volatility, man. I don't know how investors. I know. Sam tells us like, oh, this is where traders are gonna make money, but oh my God, Sam, how can you make money in these markets? It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It is, and I guess a more better rephrasement would be this is where the good traders make money. You know, the big boys.
Oh yeah, the big
It's
boys.
tough because we've been victims of it, but
Mhm.
volatile markets like these are not for everyone. Not everyone has the stomach to handle it.
No,
So stay safe out there, investors, especially new investors, especially aspiring and new traders who are beginning. Stay safe.
hmm What you
I
got for us today?
well, I just want to say yeah. Today was a good trade with Apple. Today was a good day, good catch. And nada. Today
You just
I
said
wanted.
nada.
Today I quickly wanted to come and join you guys and talk about. That's what she said. Talk about um earnings. It's earnings season right now in the markets. Last week and this week, Big Tech has reported their quarterly results for quarter fiscal. Some are fiscal year one, I believe, or quarter one,
Mhm,
or some are
mhm.
quarter four, which ends in December. So a lot of big companies. Some names are Apple, Microsoft, Google,
I
Facebook.
think it was a tech week, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
very popular week, very
I remember
volatile week,
I
right?
remember last year. Sorry to interrupt you. I remember last year. I think it was this same month, this same earnings. I got wiped out.
Yeah,
2,500 down the drain.
I remember I was doing Apple earnings, and that was like, how do you? What
hmm
was this called? In Game of Thrones, man, like the Red Wedding, sort of thing.
Oh, the red wedding. Oh my God, that was
Yeah.
crazy.
But like,
It felt just like that, bro.
yeah, it was right. We were
Mass
less,
murder.
yeah, we were very much less experienced back then, and we got caught up with the fact that obviously Apple, given their their good sales and new iPhone came out, a lot of expectations were that the iPhone was gonna, I would say surpass the previous iPhone sales. So that was for me a bullish sign, right? There were a lot of bullish indicators that they were gonna report good earnings. And this is something we'll go more deep later, right? Earnings,
hmm
having good
hmm
earnings doesn't mean that the stock will actually go up, right? But it will most likely do so at or to at least to a certain extent before pulling back down, right?
Yeah.
Most likely. So,
Yeah. I
um,
remember I was in a Discord. by that month, people were like, "Yo, is the market dipping right now?" And I thought it was the only one. I was like, "Wow, my trade just went south." All of a sudden, the whole Nasdaq is falling like 0.5% or more. And we're like, "Oh my god, like what's going on?"
I
And everybody's
know.
going crazy in the Discord. They're like,
I know the
they're
fall
like,
was
"What's
bigger than
going
that. I
on?"
think after
Bro,
that, Nasdaq corrected about 11%, right? The following week and days, I remember that Nasdaq
it's something like
correcting
that. I
about
don't even remember.
11%, but I do remember Apple was at about,
I just remember losing my money.
120 range, right? And yeah, and obviously given, as I said, those bullish expectations on reporting, I went ahead and I really wanted, I've heard before, don't trade on earnings, but I saw with my own eyes how people, I guess you could say they got lucky, but how people would, you know, play play how you know how they say play the earnings, right? They play the
Mhm,
earnings
mhm.
report, and some of these earnings, for example, Apple occur after the market closes. So if you're doing options trading, then you won't have the ability to sell the contract after the market opens the next day, right? So in this case, if for example here like Google, if the stock went up, right, and you had some of out of the money calls that would be filled here, you would have to wait until tomorrow and hope that the price stays here or has gone a little bit further up so you could get that insane profit, right?
Mhm.
And it has happened, but as you can see here in this case, if this were the situation, you would already wake up with the fact that, and this is obviously this is already previous day, but still, as you can see, you would have had to wake up and quickly sell before the fact that it already dropped in value, right? So
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say is that I went ahead and took the risk because I was feeling confident about the fact that they were going to beat earnings and something like this would happen. And what actually turned out to happen was that, yeah, they beat earnings, but it wasn't, this was kind of odd, but it wasn't as much as they expected they would beat it by. It like earnings like this sort of decline happens when earnings are like, we expect you to report $1 EPS and you report 50-cent EPS, for example. But
Mhm.
what happened was they reported good earnings, and then it turns out that further they do what's this called, forecasting guidelines or further guidelines, where they basically are saying for next quarter we're expecting this might happen, and basically they were saying that given some of the situations with COVID, they basically said there was potential to do more, right? So there was a
Mhm.
lot of like, I don't know what it was, but that and how the market went just in general really just destroyed my portfolio too. I remember I we were in a chat back then, right?
It plowed.
When
Yeah,
we
it
started,
plowed.
and I remember I was like, look,
Mhm.
I need to take some time off and just dedicate myself to really just studying the markets more and learning. I still need to learn more. I didn't want to just take those risky trades like that, right? And obviously, I've learned a lot from that situation. It
Mhm.
has it happens is it has not happened again since. So let's try and keep it that way, right?
Yeah, thank the Lord.
But anyways, now that you bring that up, I wanted to talk to you guys about, right, earnings season, earnings report. What is it that goes on, and why do you, when the earnings season comes up, why do you see a lot of talk about, it's earnings season, Google reported, and you see all these numbers going up, and you see this type of activity going on where you're like, these are parabolic moves here, you know let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. So in general, earnings season is categorized as week or weeks where in the markets, at least a lot, the majority of big companies are reporting, right, at the same time. And given that, these are, I would say, mass market movers in the sense that these are mostly mega, I mean, not mostly, but the mega cap companies are involved. Apple, Google, Microsoft, all these trillion market cap companies are reporting throughout this season. So there's a lot of flow, right, of money flowing around right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
um earnings season, right, is that period of time which obviously occurs each quarter. So we have basically four earning seasons in the year, maybe three, if you maybe count this earnings season as 2022. But still, point is that we go through this each quarter, and we why are we so like called to this? Why are we so I wouldn't say focused, but alarmed about the numbers that's going on here? What is it that they're reporting? Well, let's say that for traders, maybe these numbers don't necessarily aren't necessarily beneficial, as I explained earlier, with the uncertainty of actually having the potential to cash out on this particular jump. In this occasion, obviously, you could have if you got out in this area, but
Yeah.
there have been instances where is not that right. Let me for example look the most recent victim, PayPal, right?
Wow.
Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this. This stock died today. This stock died today, fell 24.6% basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is what I
That
mean.
was crazy.
This is
That
what
was
I
crazy.
mean when you fail expectations, right? And you don't actually ever know, right? This is what happens. As you can see here, PayPal reported earnings per share, and we're gonna go into that right now, of $1.11, and the consensus estimate was $1.12. So they lost it by just 1 cent, which is definitely not that bad. And the revenue they reported was over the estimate by 20 million, which is 0.3% over. So it's also not that much, as maybe as good as it could have been, right? So based on these numbers, why would you know? Obviously, we're gonna go into detail now, but just you look at this, right? You see an article about reports. You haven't been following PayPal. You just read an article about their earnings report, and you see they just missed the earnings by 1 cent. Obviously, accumulate that through how do you say this? The outstanding shares, but still just a minuscule uh miss of basically 1% and a 0.3% over revenue, right? What happened? Well, it turns out that
Man,
that I
I don't
was
know,
asking you.
but yo,
No,
no,
I'm
no, no,
not. I'm
no.
not asking you really. What I'm saying is that what happened is, as I was reading, it turns out that in their reporting, they said that their guidance for next quarter is that they're losing users, right? Or
Ooh,
activity. So that
wow.
causes potential loss already in revenue later. Obviously, they charge per transaction. So what I'm trying to say is here is you see what just happened there, right? The numbers here may lead you to a thing, but it turns out that there's a fundamental problem in the back that causes this event, and that fundamental um, factor is discussed within these reportings. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why, even though these numbers may not actually determine why is it that the stock is going up or down, the fundamentals discussed within those reports might tell us what is it, right? Actually, as you
Mhm.
can see,
Mhm.
users declining obviously is a bad thing for the future of the application. So they need to look into how to innovate, how we're going to attract those users, or how we're going to keep those users from leaving. So they could work on it, right? But that's the thing. That's the thing of following these earnings over and over and over. So now that we have this issue, How are we gonna present the progress on next quarter, right? How are we gonna work from this and perform better next quarter? So that's why Wall Street and a lot of, I would say specifically long term investors, keep an eye out for these reports, right? Long term investors want to know if their long term holding is producing results so potentially it could have the potential to continue increasing in value, right? If you're not producing good results, you cannot expect to continue increasing in value. Whether it's being overvalued or undervalued at the moment, there's obviously potential to keep continue increasing, right? So that's why earning season has so much eyes on it, right? And
Just
yeah, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me.
no, I was just gonna say, just out of curiosity, I just had a thought. Can you buy cryptocurrencies in like PayPal?
Mm-hmm.
What if? I mean, did they? I didn't read the article, so I'm sorry. Were they like specific? Like, where did they lose the users? Like, what if it's like crypto based
Crypto
on that?
related the issue.
Yeah, yeah. What
I
if
would
it's
have
crypto
to. I would
related?
have to. I would have to figure that out.
Yeah,
That would be interesting to find out. I actually
it
was
could
reading.
be. I
I
mean,
mean,
it could
it
be.
could be. It would be ironic. I was just reading about how PayPal is considering making a native cryptocurrency like PayPal coin. They're trying to call it.
Oh my god.
So in a sense, it would be ironic that their crypto users or the issue of users leaving, etc., would be from the crypto side, and they actually moving into crypto now. So I don't know. That's something interesting to look into. So that's a good point. That's a
Mhm.
good point. What I was gonna say is, right, we already discussed why um why does this get so much attention, right? And the fact that these are big companies. We're talking about Google. Let's talk about Google, for example. Google reported these numbers. Look at the surprise here. 10% in EPS, right? The estimate was $27. It was up $3. It went to $30 earnings per share. Revenues over the estimate by 3 billion to 75 billion. So those are great numbers, right? They also announced that the board approved a 20-for-1 stock split. So obviously that does not mean anything, and we were discussing this. Um, is different from shares being diluted. Is different from the fact that um uh the company buying back shares is different from the fact of the company selling more shares or whatever it may be. Essentially what we're doing is the slice of pie that's already being served, we're slicing it a bit thinner so you can sell it more easily to your brother who wants a plate, right? So essentially valuations should technically be the same. What's going to happen is, you know, going forward each share would be worth only 5% of what a share currently now is. So keeping that in mind, we may see an increasing in like buying pressure. Maybe not now. I would see it like how it happened with Tesla when the stock split happened. Tesla was about almost $2,000 when the stock split happened. It went back down to almost 400, right? So a rush of new buyers came in that obviously buying volume increases the price at least period in the short term. So I see that happening with Google, right? I see a lot of people coming in and increasing this price at least temporarily, and that may mean it is temporarily overvalued the company, but it's what the market does, right? It's Mr. Market. He does what he wants. So what I'm trying to say here is that what are these numbers, right? Why is this good? what does it mean? What is EPS? What is revenue? To those who don't know, that's what we came here to explain as well, because you're gonna start seeing this a lot going forward, and we want to make sure that when we keep doing these episodes, you understand where we're going, and you have a clear mind. Am I right, Edil?
Yeah, yeah, of course,
All right,
of course.
so
I haven't commented about Google because if I start, sorry about that. If I start,
let's hear let's hear what Edil has to say.
no, I can't. Well, I mean, I can't speak about it because the stock split. I don't know. I
Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk
we
to me.
we spoke about this in the morning. I don't like that. Um, but I'll have to look a little bit, more in depth about like stock splits if they're actually helpful or, I mean, for me, I don't see it helpful, but still, um, let's just leave it at that. Okay, keep on. Continue. Okay, let me
So,
get more info. I'll bring it for next episode.
yo, mi gente, you already know how I take it. So, nada, mira, para mi boricua, para mi latino, lo que les queremos decir es que earning season, esta temporada, como ya saben, estas compañías grandes reportan los resultados de lo que han generado en ese em, no, quarter, ¿verdad? Voy a decir quarter, se me va a decir en español, quarter.
Gotcha.
So, en esencia, la gente le presta mucha atención, y yo digo la gente, lo que me refiero es Wall Street, ¿verdad? Estas firmas grandes que tú ves que reportan y están pendientes y hacen estimates y todo eso. Estas firmas están pendientes a eso porque aparte de que dan esos números como resultado de lo que ocurrió en los pasados 3 meses, ellos dan guías de lo que están trabajando y cómo eso, si eran resultados malos, van a mejorar, o si eran resultados buenos, aún así pueden mejorar, ¿verdad? O el potencial que tiene para el futuro, etcétera. Todo se discute en esos resultados. So, el beneficio realmente lo ven los inversionistas de largo plazo que están pendientes a que sus inversiones estén produciendo los resultados necesarios para que puedan continuar o tengan el potencial de continuar creciendo a lo largo, ¿verdad? De lo que lo estén aguantando. So, hay mucho ojo detrás de eso y hay mucho dinero fluyendo en como le dicen este earning season, esta temporada, porque son de las compañías más grandes en los mercados están reportando ahora mismo, o sea, en este tiempo, como por ejemplo también Microsoft reportó buenos números también. Earnings per share de 2.48, expected de 2.32. Revenue de 52 billones, expected 51. So, good numbers, ¿me entiendes? Y el hecho de que esto un almost 2 trillion, I mean, it's 2.3 trillion market cap company, pues obviously there's a lot of money going in and going out in the markets right now en ciertos sectores. So, básicamente queremos enseñarle qué son esos earnings, qué es el EPS, qué son esos números para que entiendan y qué es el revenue. A lo mejor ya esto lo saben, sabemos que hay gente que no, so queremos encargarnos de cubrirlo para que going forward podamos continuar durante todo este proceso y todo el mundo tenga la mente clara. So, aquí yo tengo investopedia.com, un source que se los recomiendo a todos. Pueden encontrar información de finanzas, basically gratis, y kickstart, ¿verdad? Your financial literacy y comenzar a aprender de estos términos financieros. So, según lo que está diciendo esto aquí, el earnings per share is calculated as a company's profits divided by outstanding shares of common stock. The resulting number serves as an indicator of a company's profitability. Profitability, mi gente. Hasta aquí lo que estamos diciendo es que en esencia esto se calcula cogiendo lo que la compañía hizo en ganancia. So, en el caso de lo que haya reportado ahora mismo Microsoft, si ahí hay una ganancia de 1 billón, pues entonces nosotros queremos ver de ese 1 billón que hicieron de ganancia, I mean, lo hice mal. El revenue, que son todas las ventas, ellos hacen una ganancia y esa ganancia lo que estamos haciendo con el EPS es distribuyéndola por cada acción. So, si hicimos 1 billón de ganancia y hay 1 millón de acciones, that means que hay un poquito más
Tú
de...
divide, tú
Exacto, tú
divide un
divides
billón
1 billón
sobre.
entre 1 millón y te va a dar el EPS.
Sí,
¿Entiendes?
ujú.
¿Me entiendes lo que te digo? So, ¿qué estamos diciendo con esto? Este es un indicador de profitability, de rentabilidad, del hecho de que la compañía esté haciendo dinero. Si esto es número EPS, ustedes lo ven y es positivo, lo que está indicando es que tuvieron un tipo de ganancia. O sea, están, en otras palabras, en el verde. Si es un número negativo, están en el rojo, meaning que perdieron dinero en el momento en que hayan reportado esos números. Aquí hay algunos key takeaways, earnings per share, ¿verdad? Lo que acabamos de discutir. EPS indicates how much money a company makes for each share of its stock, and it is a widely used metric for estimating corporate value. A higher EPS indicates greater value because investors will pay more for a company's shares if they think the company has higher profits relative to its share price. EPS can be arrived at in several forms. So, hay muchas maneras de llegar a estos números, pero lo que quieren decir es que con un higher EPS, meaning un número positivo mayor, los inversionistas son capaces de pagar más por esa acción, meaning que la podrán hacer más cara. Por eso vemos esos incrementos en esos números. Y lo mismo ocurrirá si es viceversa. Si hay malos earnings, pues los inversionistas estarán menos dispuestos a pagar un precio más caro por esa acción si pues, no está produciendo los resultados. Ahora, lo que es earnings, right? What is earnings? I mean, earnings, mira mami. Revenue. What is revenue? So, revenue is sales, essentially, and I don't have to look this up, or you can look it up in Investopedia if you want. The revenue son las ventas o lo que ellos producieron. O sea, lo que generaron de lo que producieron. Meaning, yo producí, en este caso Microsoft, producí 1 millón de Xbox. El revenue de mi Xbox es vendí el 1 millón de Xbox a tal precio y cobré 300 millones, ¿entiendes? So, de ese ser el caso, pues mis revenues son 300 millones. De ahí se descuenta todos los gastos, operacionales, etcétera. Llegamos al net income y ahí vemos si tenemos earnings o el EPS, ¿me entienden? So, por eso las dos se llevan a la pala y siempre se reportan juntos. That's essentially what we mean by this, guys. On earnings, we're reporting if the company was profitable and how much money it made during that quarter, right? How much sales, So that's essentially what's going on. As I said, the intricate part here is there's fundamentals discussed in a lot of these calls, and they talk about whether it's increasing users, the current status, right, or current health of the company, etc. I'm trying to look at a potential review here of, you see, for example, here. I'm gonna stop this. Tech earnings, Alphabet posts huge beat. AMD sales, as you see, Outlook leads semiconductor stocks higher. So it's not only the fact that these earnings could have a positive or negative effect on the stock per se, but it could also have a positive or negative effect on other stocks that are in the same sector. What do you think about that, dude?
Do you want me to be honest with you?
I'm scared to answer that question.
If you want me to be honest with you, every podcast I got to zone out. So I, I was zoning out. What was the question again? Oh my God.
Mi
Every
gente,
podcast, man. Every single episode. Every single episode.
públicamente estoy solicitando un nuevo host.
What was the question again?
No, nothing. I was just discussing the fact that the here, for example, the headline says Alphabet, que is the parent company of Google, posts huge beat on the earnings, as we saw. And AMD, which is another company that reported the sales outlook, meaning the potential sales that they see for next quarter, helps lead the semiconductor stocks higher. So I was talking about how earnings may not only have an effect on the stock that's reporting per se, but it could also have an effect on other stocks that are in the same industry or in the same sector.
Yeah, because they. So think about it. AMC is a semiconductor. Computers, everything is nowadays needing a chip. Even cars, every single car, everything that's technological is needing a chip. So if AMD is saying, "Hey, for next quarter, let's put it like that. For next quarter, we're gonna have these many sales. That means that they're gonna be selling to those companies. Those companies are gonna have semiconductors or fans, not fans, sorry, graphics cards, chips, just to make their products. And it's a ongoing chain. It's an ongoing chain. Now, I wanted to do a side note. That's really weird that they're saying that they're gonna beat sales. Maybe I think not in. I don't think in product. I think it's more on money. They're gonna ramp up the prices, and of course, but it's really weird because you have to see. The other day, I saw an article saying that the semiconductor chips, that supposedly they're like super scarce now. Like it's so hard to find a chip now or semiconductors. It's super hard now. So how are you telling me? Which this is something that you have to um, watch, and once you go into the company, into the fundamentals of the company, what their spreadsheet is and their balance sheet and all that, and you go to the SEC filings and everything like that. You have to see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm thinking in Spanish and English. Okay, I'm sorry about that. But you have to see that there's a chip shortage, and now they're saying that they're going to beat sales. How is that even possible?
Well,
Oh,
let's talk about the fact that there was supply chain issues, right? And obviously,
I mean, it's
that's been
even worse
going
now.
on. It's been.
It's
You
even
think it's
worse now.
even worse now? Well, it's been going
No,
on
there,
for
there
a
was.
while. It's been going on
I,
for a while, and we let's go into it, right? Once we finish this episode today, let's go into it. Let's do some research. Let's bring it back to the users, to the listeners, and talk about it more in depth with
yep.
them. The current status of the supply chain issues and semiconductor crisis, basically. But I mean, let's understand it, right?
Mhm.
It's not going to be a crisis forever, and the fact that it's been going on for a while, you may see it as, wow, it hasn't been solved yet, but it could also be seen as the fact that
Mhm.
it's working to be resolved. So I'm
And
pretty
just
sure we're closer to ending the crisis at least sooner rather than
mhm.
later is what I mean, right?
and just like you said about how things affect other companies, that actually affects other companies. Let's say they do not. Um,
But
let's.
now that you talk about it, but let me interrupt you for a second before you continue.
Mm,
AMD reported 90.92 EPS versus 0.76 estimate. That's a surprise of over 21%.
Wow.
Likewise, they
Oh,
reported a surprise revenue of over 300 million or 6%, 6.7%.
I
So
mean,
that's a good
they had
reporting.
to. You get a freaking graphics cards for like $1,000.
Yeah.
Like there's no excuse. You
Yeah.
cannot fail. You cannot
So
miss your EPS. Okay.
so currently right now, um let's see, I would say in the previous couple of days, semiconductor chips, yeah, they have gone up a bit. Let me check Intel here for a second. Yeah, AMD, Intel up, especially Intel also up today. They reported on the 26th of January, and they also reported good numbers. A surprise EPS of 20%. The expected was 90 cents. They reported over $1.09. So you see, the I'm guessing these not only these surprises, but the I would say the hype in a way is the outlook, right? The potential outlook of the fact that once this conductor crisis goes away, it's at least the numbers are going back up. You know, the demand is there, right? The demand is still there.
Mhm.
Is what I'm trying to say. The demand is still there. So I think it would be worse that not only there's a semiconductor crisis, but that demand starts to fall for some reason. It's not gonna fall,
Mhm.
because nothing, right? It's gonna fall
Mhm.
because of some reason. So if that were to happen, I see it as not happening. But if it happened, it'd be interesting to see what's that alternative to solving it, right? So,
Yeah, and you know what? Now can I go back or
oh yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
still
yeah,
out
yeah, yeah,
there?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay. So going back now to what we were talking about. This is important, right? Because many companies, it's a chain. Many companies are gonna, get affected by this, and depending on what you want to, do in the market, at least for investors, a timeline of earnings is really important to see in what company you're going to invest, if it's actually worth it or if it's not.
Yeah.
You can't just go into a company. You remember when we started learning about like fundamentals and how companies before that we used to just, oh my gosh, put our monies into anything. Like there was a new water company that supposedly was gonna create water into crystal, and we were like, oh my god, what an invention, and we just pop put our money in there. All of a sudden, we're like, wow, the stock is going down. And you even had
Wow.
people like, yeah, you're like, wow, the stock is going down. I wonder, but it was because people like Peloton that invested in Peloton.
Indeed.
You know, I know, right, Bendido. But
Indeed.
that's why it's important to go into the timeline. We started learning that. Oh, wait, so for 5 years, an example, for 5 years, their cash flow has been going down. They're in debt. Oh my gosh, what's going on? And every earnings, we're like, oh my god, this company is trash.
Yep.
So this is for investors, at least for investors. This is really, really important. But now they're gonna be like, but what about the traders, ATL? So for traders, it's different. One time we had a live with one of our good friends, Sam. He gave us a good pointer. A lot of times, well, things are changing now, but usually many investors they stay away from earnings
Yep.
because it's priced in. Up to a certain point, it's priced in. Um, of course, it goes to what it is, but in the sense that if you have a company that just had an exorbitant amount of revenue, of course it's gonna blow up. But most of the time, just like you remember when you were looking at Apple and you were like, wow, the expectations of Apple, they're like, I don't know, to a certain point, I think that they were like, oh, they were lowering their prices. That's what I mean. They were like lowering their like their stock just so they can have like a big boom. And I feel like
Oh, you
that's what
mean
happened.
that's what
You
we talked about? You mean what we talked
Yeah,
about, that they lowered expectations a couple of weeks before reporting? You know.
and then we went from like 150 to like 170. I'm like, all right, Brandon, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to a certain point, it's kind of priced in. I think mostly a trader should look after earnings.
Yeah.
Now that things are calming down, and now that you already know what happening earnings, that you're like, oh, okay, so PayPal, had like low users in PayPal. So let me, at least for me, I was trying to look into what would happen. I'm not gonna do this, of course not. But I was like, wow, what if with a demo account? What if?
Ooh, and Amazon reports tomorrow, by the way. Anyway, continue.
Oh, awesome! I was like, what if in a demo account I play around, see what's gonna happen with PayPal?
Demo
After I see
account.
the fundamentals,
Demo.
of course, I'm not gonna, you know, um, trade that, but just to see, feel it out, because it can be, for many, it's a call, for many, not for, I mean, that's my opinion, not for me. I still don't know what's going on, but it's something interesting. Now, Amazon is reporting tomorrow. You said.
Amazon is reporting tomorrow. That is correct.
Mhm.
Tesla already reported. They reported good. Apple already reported as well. This is what we mean. Apple reported $2.10 versus $1.90. That's a 10% surprise.
What?
This is, look at these numbers in revenue. 123 billion, basically 124 billion dollars in revenue. And
Wow.
the estimate was 119. That's a
They
4%.
could have. They
That's a
could have paid off. They
that's a
could have paid off the debt in Puerto Rico.
they could have, they could pay off Puerto Rico and build a plant there and everybody live off working for Apple.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, I
What
think
happened to Tesla before you keep on going?
Tesla reported good. Tesla did a 7% surprise in EPS and a 3%
Mm.
surprise in revenue. And these are base only numbers, right? If you look at these numbers, you want to go into detail, try and find out what happened in that call. You can also go into investors relation and you'll see the earnings report there. So you can actually read through it more in depth, not from a news source, but you can read through it in depth. So, for example, let's see Tesla investor relations. So I'm giving you the tea, guys. This is how you do your due diligence. As you can see, you're gonna see here. Look at this. You can listen to the call Q&A. You can even see the SEC filing, and this is all Tesla.com. They have to do this for their shareholders, and you can download a deck. For example, this is a PowerPoint basically, and you can see here Q4 and forecast or for year 2021 or I mean Q4 and fiscal year 2021 update. This is total nítido. You can see here the highlights and everything. This is all made by them. This is crazy. This is like you're reading through the PowerPoints that they present themselves, and you have everything here. So you see these numbers all by yourself. You can read through it. This is all made directly by them. This is not edited by any news source, and you can really go through it, find out what is it that your company is reporting, and if they're potentially being set up for the future. So I feel like I needed to get this topic out of my chest because earnings season is gonna happen quarterly, right?
Man, you love this. We've talked about earnings so many times.
Yeah, we've talked about it briefly in some episodes. We talked about it in the live, but I don't know. Es que hay veces I feel like people when we if we're trying to talk about it, a veces hablamos tan enredado, right? We talk about it so fast that maybe new listeners are not up to date with what this is or why is it important, right? Why do people cover earnings and why is this so? Well, I just wanted to get that out the way, right? And as you can see, I feel we touched a good. I just noticed that Intel has a 2.98% dividend yield, which is nice. Not gonna lie. um, so nada, Etiel, si tú te quieres despedir con algo,
Sí. Este.
compren HPQ. No, 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 me hagas caso.
Mira, muchacho. Don't say that. We're gonna get arrested. No, no. Wow. For the first time, I actually don't have something to say because I know sometimes I'm like holding back. All of a sudden, I just say everything in a single sentence. But man, for the first time, I don't have anything to say because honestly, earnings were. I don't know. Earnings this week, it was weird. I remember last year, earnings week, like this year, this quarter, we can say this quarter. This quarter was packed, bro. Everybody was like, oh my God. There was so many companies reporting. There was so much commotion. Everybody's like, oh my God. Like, let's see what's going to, we got Apple, a net, we got this, that. It was so many companies. And of course, I believe they're going to be kind of this year, of course, by the same time. But I think it's because we're already like, we're not getting off the pandemic, but we're already getting used to it.
Yeah.
So, and then the feds, they teased us with the rate hikes and all that. So, maybe it was not that feel the commotion. People are also expecting like a crash. Look at PayPal. Like everything's already fumbling. Which I think they needed a 25% dip, honestly, because the PE was crazy. I think they had like a 50 PE, something like that. Right? I think it was even more. I honestly don't remember.
On
I knew it
Tesla?
was great. No, PayPal.
Oh, PayPal.
Yeah. So, it was kind of healthy for them. They kind of needed that. But
Yeah.
yeah, if we get to see this, it's been something. It's starting off. It's a year that's starting off kind of crazy. And for the first time, I'm not down.
Yeah.
I'm not down. I remember by this year, I was like, wow,
Broke.
I just got wiped out. I was like, wow, I just lost the house.
El meme. No, but I agree with
Yeah,
you. I agree with you. I feel que, que we are getting, I guess, slowly past the pandemic in the sense that, yes, since we're getting used to it, you could say que, como quien dice, la estamos superando because we're basically moving on, even though it continues to bother us, right? So that's,
bro.
in a
You
way,
remember
a good sign, you know?
Brandon? You remember when, like a year ago, they were like, "Oh, there's these many cases of COVID, people with COVID, like that used to rally up the market either to plunge it or to rally it. It was something crazy. Now you don't see at least I don't see any news at all. They're just talking about the rate hikes,
Yeah.
and everything is about the rate hikes. And you can see now that things are fumbling apart. Like look at well, our first victim, which was supposed to fall a long time ago, Peloton. Goodbye.
Yep.
And now PayPal. Banks earnings. Oh my god, that was kind of horrific. I think there was only two banks, if I'm not mistaken, that had good earnings, if I'm not mistaken. but banks were like, I think if I'm not mistaken, they were passing their debts, or like, people were not
I
like,
mean,
I,
banks,
I don't even
banks,
remember.
los ejecutivos de los bancos, de la firma, los banks, they,
Mm,
I think for the first time in a while, they they got paid their bonuses, or I mean, they. It's not like they have to get paid bonuses, but they got bonuses this last year. You know what I mean? So, in a way, I mean, unless that they don't give us a crap, um, they got that bonus anyway. But if they are getting the bonuses that they're getting, which in average is it was between 15 to 30 million bonuses, then yeah, I think at least something is getting better, you know? But I feel like a good way to end this would be the intelligent investor in these moments is the one that is enjoying the ride in the sense that he's looking at the opportunities that are currently present for the long term and taking advantage of the short term opportunities that are being present with the volatility, right? Careful,
mm,
obviously, proper risk management and risk tolerance, but given those checked boxes, then you're basically set up in a way, right? So I think that it's been a good week. It was a good week for us. We hope it was an even better week for you guys. Thank you for being present with us tonight again. Thank you, Atia,
thank
as
you,
always,
thank
for
you.
zoning out.
And every episode, that's gonna be like my trait now. I'm just gonna zone out every episode now. I
Yeah,
mean, that's gonna be just a habit of it.
yeah.
It's been how many episodes do we have out?
This is gonna be our fifth or sixth one.
So for the sixth time
Yeah,
in a row, I've zoned out,
yeah.
and
Don't
I'm
worry,
like,
people. I taken off his paycheck. He he doesn't get paid that hour he sleeps in the podcast. You know.
Oh my god!
Anyways, thank you, Atia.
Wrap it
Thank
up.
you, people. Thank you, people, for being here.
Thank you very much.
You guys know what I always like to use for closing, and that's keep doing what you do best, guys. Keep learning, most of all, keep investing. This is Brandon with the Money Jam Podcast. Peace out.